recording. 1st of May. Yeah.
We've been having long discussions these last days about trust. What is trust? Who do we trust? Why do we trust? What is trust? It's a deeper topic, I think, than we realized when we first put it up there. It's not so simple. And it's a very personal, very individual thing too, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, long walks, 1.5 hour walks about trust and trust and trust under the stars and really pondering it. And you know, looking at trust versus belief. What is the difference between trusting and believing? Does trust need a proof? Or can you just let go? Or did you already have proof of something in order to be able to trust that or it? Or and how connected is it to faith? So what is really the difference between trusting, believing, and having faith? And what is the interconnection?
And I don't have an answer.
Yeah, so we were really, honestly, we were really thinking about it and discussing it. And in a way, I wished we would have taken notes on these long walks because it was some interesting detail. But we both thought we open up a conversation before we do. I came up with an inner process. Paul has an inner process. But if you would like to share something about what you bring in as your thought, what trust is, and then we could do an exercise again, go more within and have a discussion about it again. So, yeah.
And we wanted you to share one thing that you trust. I think we all have something that we trust, right?
Yeah, but also your thoughts, trust versus belief versus faith, like that.
Belief is more wishful thinking. Faith is deep inside. It's more real. And believing is what we want. But that's not what's the same as trust, and it's different. Believing is just something of the human mind.
Interesting.
But isn't that important though? Because if you believe, you can achieve.
From where do you believe? From inside?
You have to trust yourself, your own inner voice, and you believe. Once you believe it, because faith is based on the foundation that what we learn, we have faith in things. But for me, I have a motto, it's believe always. Because if I can believe in myself, I can achieve anything. Where does faith come from? Faith is more a belief in a bigger power, whereas belief is more of yourself.
So for you, faith is external and belief is internal.
Yeah,
That's how I understand it.
Correct. Yeah.
And for me, it's vice versa. But it's
the same thing, really. Yeah.
We came across that too in our discussion. We came to that point too. It's really interesting. Yeah. Anybody else?
For me, I can say something. For me, the only thing I trust is myself, my capability, my ability to manage whatever comes. I mean, to get over the things that happens. So I think for me, trust starts with myself. Like, for example, while sharing something with a friend, do I trust that friend or not is not that I think of, but I think of if I take an action, I trust that I will, if something unexpected comes, I'll manage to maintain, I mean, I'll manage to handle it in one way or another. So that is what trust means. Belief, I believe in myself, that's true. It starts with that. But I also know that even though you believe in yourself, not necessarily you will be able to do everything. You cannot manage everything even if you believe in myself. Like, for example, at this age, even though I believe that I can run whatever, like Ironman marathon, with this, I can't do it. It's not about belief. It's about, I don't know, many other things, like physical things, whatever. Like sometimes there are some things that I cannot do even if I believe in it, because time has passed and I don't have that conditions or background. And faith is, yes, faith is religious, I guess. That's what I think.
Run Ironman, you just might not finish.
Yes, that's true. Running is, yes, running is okay.
I don't believe that faith has to do with religion. It's more. Everything is, if you want, everything is religious. And I don't think about church and so, but it's more deeper. And when I say trust and faith, it has to do with God. And God is everywhere.
Yeah.
And you cannot do without.
Okay.
That has to do with faith and nothing with the church.
Yeah.
Let's navigate back to trust.
It has to do with trust, yeah.
Someone else want to share their thoughts about trust, what it is, and what you trust?
Yeah.
Just come in.
Yes, I want to talk.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think belief doesn't have any infrastructure. It's coming from a good intention. I mean, I believe in humans. I don't have any, proof or reason or anything. That's just belief, like, easy. But trust, you need a proof to trust someone or something. It's more materialistic. And about the faith, I really don't know how to explain, but it comes after believe and trust. You would be faithful to the guy that you trusted or you had it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing.
Share.
Yeah.
Oh, it's coming now. Perfect. So I feel like all these concepts have one thing in common, which is acceptance. Because trust has a lot to do with acceptance and support, I guess. So when there is acceptance, you allow what wants to come, what exists out there. So belief and faith are really related to this, in my opinion. I take belief as more flexible in terms of a concept, and faith being relatively more rigid, not giving as much room to change and allowance. So when you're ready to allow what's out there and accept it, then trust is out there.
It's actually very interesting, this, because it teaches us about the perception of how we receive words. So if you're working with clients, what is their perception? How do they receive those words?
Yeah, that is why it's so important to really listen exactly to the words and the vibration attached to the word and use that, because one word might have a very negative connotation for someone and you reach the opposite of what you would like to reach.
I think Kiko was about to say something.
Yes, Kiko was about.
Yes, I want to share something from my experience. In my experience, trust is very important in groups or in organizations. When you're able to trust the persons, the people you work with, or you engage in a social activity with, that group can perform much better. The trust builds the attitude towards risking something. If I did mountaineering for many years in my life, and I know what is trust. Trust is when you're heading the route in the mountain and you're tied with a rope with somebody which is down below, and you trust that that guy will hold you if you happen to fall. That means that through trust, two persons can climb a mountain and reach a very high altitude, can reach a better goal. So I think trust is really a matter of taking risks with people, knowing you can accept the risk, but knowing that there is somebody that can really help. And if you're able to build this trust and to trust that the persons in your organization or the person you deal with in your personal life, in your everyday life, your horizon expands. Instead, I think beliefs are much linked also to our sort of education and experience we had in life, and that the beliefs sometimes tend to give us some behaviors which are somehow automatic, because we have developed beliefs through experience. So I think sometimes our goal is sort of to be more flexible and sort of discuss our beliefs and try to see where that beliefs is helping us and where is not helping us. So it's more a matter of how the experiences through our life have given us some filters towards reality that help us or not help us in certain circumstances. So and faith, I think faith is another level. Is you can have faith in something you don't see. It's a choice. It's a choice. It's really a choice you take deeper in yourself. And if you choose to have faith in something, you can act accordingly, and it's independently if you ever have a proof that that thing's really the way you suppose it is. But it can affect your life anyway, because if you have that faith or choose to have that faith, you can act accordingly, and that will influence your life. But let's say in my experience, which is everyday experience in management, in organization, I'm really fascinated in the way building trust in a team or in a group can change enormously the way that group performs, the way that group feels, the enthusiasm that they have, the risk that the group takes, and the way human beings sort of build one over each other to expand their possibilities.
I think you said a key thing, and that's building trust, right? Trust doesn't just happen in spontaneously. I don't think it's how do people develop trust? Yeah.
It depends very much on leadership. If you have a leader that sort of you understand that lets you learn from mistakes, for example, and the climate that there is in a group or an organization helps to build that trust. And you can it's like when you are on a sailing boat. Now, on a sailing boat, you build that trust in a team through months, years of training, and you know exactly that if you do the right thing, the others will do the right thing, and together you do something that an individual can't do. And that's really something when one becomes many, many are one, and that is through trust. Human beings can do incredible things when there is mutual trust between a group.
Thank you.
You know, Kiko, that reminds me, or everybody, that reminds me of an exercise you can do in a group, and I think we are all familiar with it. I run it by Paul, where you stand and you let yourself fall back, and somebody is going to catch you. Do we all not know that exercise? Yeah.
Yes, yes, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
That's the trust you experienced in the mountains, and even way amplified, because that was really about being held. and trusting that.
Trusting your life.
Yeah, totally. So would you be ready to do an internal exercise? Is that okay? Or is there anybody else? Yeah, good. So we do that. Okay. So please just take a moment to center yourself, and if you may, just close your eyes and go on an internal journey. And just take a nice deep letting go kind of breath, presencing yourself and knowing that here in this very moment where you are safe, and we are going on an internal exploration. So connecting yourself to the higher realm and to earth, centering yourself and connecting. Just take a moment and let's explore this topic, trust. We just tried to comprehend with our mental mind, and please allow yourself to drop a little deeper in order to reach your subconscious or even your soul mind. Connecting, letting go, and relaxing body and mind. And let something come to the surface, something which you were in the last weeks or in the last month or maybe today you are most concerned about. And just hold that thought or that issue or that person or problem, and allow yourself to really breathe into that. And then as much as you can, release and give up the need to control this, what you are most concerned about. And breathe yourself into this space like in this falling exercise, where you are dropping back into the space of letting yourself fall. And embrace in this very moment the helplessness. Embrace the helplessness and let yourself fall. And surrender to whatever comes up in this slow motion of falling, embracing helplessness, giving up the need to control. And surrendering to whatever comes up for you in your inner experience. Really notice, what are you surrendering to? And can you? And in this surrender, give yourself the space to explore when you do not trust. What is your emotion when you're not letting yourself fall and embrace the helplessness? When you try to hold on to your rope, trying to control? When you do not trust, what is the opposite of trust? And explore that for a moment. The opposite feeling of trust is mistrust, fear, other emotions or words might arise for you. And again, relax into it and drop into the unknown. Drop that imaginary safety rope you created in your mind and drop into the unknown in this space you can call trust, and allow yourself to listen to this inner guidance or the intuition which might arise now when you really allow yourself to drop into trust, stepping away from fear or safety, dropping into guidance, intuition, and take time to have your own interpretation of what this is when you listen to your inner guidance. When you fall backwards and drop and you fall into trust and you are being held. Who or what is catching you? Who or what is your very own refuge? So let go. Let your mind go and let yourself fall into being held by your very own refuge. Let go into who or what is holding you. And then trust what was shown to you and what you just established, what you can trust and what you choose and want to trust. Deeply connecting to it, giving it a place in your inner mind's eye and in your inner memory, anchoring it deeply into your being. Taking it with you when you now come back into your room, into our group. Breathing yourself into the now. And coming back, opening your eyes and being back here present with us. Taking some time to arrive. So is anybody willing or ready to share?
Terezinha.
I love this conversation and this meditation because hearing other people's ideas about trust really widened me. At first, I thought I trust myself, so actually I'm in a way controlling what is happening because I trust myself, so I don't let go. I don't trust others. But that's how I felt after hearing the other sharings. But then at the meditation, when you said that widen your intuition, I realized that actually I was using my intuition when I said trust. So it kind of like in a way energetically opened all around my head that I started realizing that actually I'm using my intuition when I say I trust myself. That's what I meant. So it was really good, and I'm sure it will deepen during the night. My understanding about trust. So I did the exercise of falling back many times,
Yeah.
or walking on the fire, or jumping from high. So it's all about trust, and I climbed the rocks by someone holding it, but I mean, this is a good meditation that will help me to open up more. I know. Thank you.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah, in our discussions about trust, I realized that there are varying degrees of trust. It isn't a yes. Our mind, I think, likes to think I trust or I don't trust, but there's a lot in between. You know, is there anything you trust 100%? Right? Even myself, I thought the same thing as Beza. I thought, well, before anyone else, I trust myself. But there are things about myself I don't trust too. It isn't 100%. And trust comes from different places. There's I think I can trust, right? Which for me is more associated with something Franklin said, or someone said, a kind of belief that something on a mental level I believe in, I think is true. But then I think that if I can move into my heart, and as you're saying, use more intuition and feel, that this is a better gauge. I call it trustability, or the trustometer, my trust meter, right? So my heart too, though, is a place I hold beliefs. And some of my beliefs are true and some of my beliefs are not. They're fallible, they aren't true. And so I have to sink even deeper into my gut, my belly, my intuition, and my soul level beyond my mind, because I'm a pretty trusting person, at least to a certain degree of most people, but not on a deep level. And that deeper trust in me comes from somewhere down further in my body. That's more that intuitive, that more soul knowing. And the problem, I think, is my mind spins with lots of thoughts and details and information and wondering and rationalizing and analyzing. And I think when you're deciding to trust someone or something, a certain amount of analysis is necessary, but if it's solely based on that, it's not going to work. It has to come from a deeper place within. But that means being clear enough in mind and heart to be able to get to that inner intuition, that inner knowing, that real trustometer that can gauge trust and how trustworthy something is, how trustworthy someone is. It's a deeper place of knowing, and it's not always the easiest place to get to, but it's much more valuable and accurate when I can do that.
I agree with you. Plus, from my experience, on top of my feelings, open communication helps very well. Yeah. What I expect when I say trust, like in our friendship, you know, with Füsun, for example, we have gone through like a long way, like something happened, like conflict of interest, and then, or other people, being clear about what I want, what I expect about trust and friendship, that really helped me well. So it needs communication, definitely communication, that you have to be clear about yourself and what you want, and then share and communicate. and then be ready to accept the yes or no answer. I think that's also a basis for the real trust.
Yeah. Someone else want to offer something?
Thanks, Peter.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I think what I got through the meditation was that if you use the sentence, all is unfolding exactly as it should, you could put either I trust in front of it, I believe, or I have faith. All is unfolding as it should. I think it really is to do about how you feel about yourself, and knowing that if you can trust a situation, and I'm not saying just sitting back and allowing things just to happen, because we all have to be active in any situation. But if you use the words, all is unfolding as it should, you can really use, I have faith, all is unfolding, I believe, or I trust. And it really is to do about the person. It's such a broad subject, this, when you look at it. And it totally depends on each individual and how they focus on the word. Because for me, I would use the words, I trust and believe, because my faith is in a higher power. So knowing that all that is unfolding as it should, I think we have to look at it on a perspective, if you're looking at, whether you're looking at it from yourself, or when you're looking at it from a friend or a client.
Yeah.
The actual meanings change.
Yeah. We have some of your fellow countrymen here. Bruce and Teresa are also from South Africa.
Oh, okay.
They probably picked up that you were too by...
I'm half South African too, by the way.
Oh, hi. Well, it's not going so well down there right now with lockdown.
They're in Portugal. They're in Lisbon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but from there.
Oh, very good. Thank you.
I would like to say one thing in terms of the trust with ourselves, yeah, because we are discussing trust in ourselves, trust in our intuition, which ultimately connects us to something higher, and trust externally to a friend who is catching us. So, but the internal one, I think there the trust comes into also what the sentence you just formed. What resource do you have? We were talking about resources before on another Friday, but what internal resource do you have? And how does that create a conflict? Or how is that a resource for you in order to be able to trust yourself and the unfolding of your life? If you had a lot of trauma before, especially if it's not processed, how can you ever muster up the trust? I have goosebumps all over the body talking about this. Where is your personal resource, let's say with your inner child or later on, if you were not able to build that? So then the trust really has to be in this void. That's why for me, this void is so filled with possibility. When we are letting go of what we think we already know, and we base our trust on that, may it be a traumatized childhood and earthquakes or whatever have been happening just now, or personal challenges such as physical issues throughout your life. When I, for example, I had a lot of physical issues. If I base my trust on myself solely alone, I'm very struggling, because my history doesn't necessarily say always, oh, this is going to turn out well. Yes, I'm still here. Okay, but so I think the void, I want to bring the emphasis to the void in the falling, where we really let go of the rope we already know. That rope is our knowing from what we experienced and so on. That's our rope we made. But if we can let go of that and really drop into the complete unknown and trust that there is, whatever we call it, a higher power, whatever, and we drop into that, then there is room for new possibility and a totally different level of trust. and a totally level of creating the next moment out of this, just being in the slow motion falling. If you can just walk in slow motion in the falling mode, you're creating a completely new reality for yourself. And that's something I started to process from our walk yesterday till this morning. I just wrote this down this morning, like after we talked, the meditation thing here. And because I think this is this void. If you create something from your rope, you're maybe not even creating trusting, because you're going from your resource of trauma and fear and anxiety. That's what I said. What is the opposite of mistrust, of trust really? What is it really? We were pondering that yesterday. What is the opposite of it? It's fear. And fear disconnects us ultimately from whatever we trust. If it's what we pondered with Beza, ourselves, if it's someone else, if I put my trust in Paul to hold me and catch me, well, maybe sometimes he can, sometimes he can't. And if I put my trust into myself, I still have to deal with my body. Maybe my body can't do it. Like Beza said, I can't run an Ironman. Well, there are many things my body can't do, but I can still trust that somehow something will guide me to that place, which is whatever it is. And even if it is not what I ever would imagine to be. So, and that void for me, that's where the power is. Not even in the being caught and held, in the void and allowing ourselves to go there. So that's kind of where I arrive with it. And yeah.
When you in the meditation, when you talked about mistrust or not trusting, the feelings I got were rigidity and contraction. Right, I really felt myself contract and become rigid. Point. This is the resisting, the not trusting.
Yeah, and it has to be a certain outcome versus saying, that's the holding on, and that's the rigidity too. If we say, oh, this has to come through, it's a completely different topic for me. But like affirming, well, I wanted green, but then you get blue. Maybe blue is better than green. But I affirm for months, I want green. But then I get blue and I'm like, oh, blue. And then after a while, I'm realizing, well, if I would have trusted and I would have gone there, I would have gotten blue way earlier. And blue actually was better for me. So, you know what I mean? It's like, that's my juggle with it. Yeah. Thank you for translating, Kiko.
Someone else have something from the meditation that you want to share?
Anyone else, please?
Hit that unmute button. Was that Franklin?
Who wants to share? Franklin. Franklin?
Do you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is all about words, and it's very confusing, because I can even believe in someone whom I don't trust. And I brought this back to myself, these two parts of myself. And there's the friction. And at the end, deeper and deeper, it comes all about, let's say, about the heart intelligence, going there. And there is everything, let's say, manageable and from a different level. Because where does this intelligence come from? You may call it intuition, whatever, but there is more than this level of understanding. It is, you call it the void, whatever, but there are all the possibilities. But we can go there from the heart and not from the mind.
Right.
But I thank you very much for give me thoughts about myself.
Thank you.
Do you guys want to do the journey to your trust-ometer?
Yeah? Yes. I just want to share a brief thought, and I sort of try to do what I tried to see what is not to have trust in the meditation. It was really interesting meditation to do that test on yourself. And I also found that there is fear, there is anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
I had the sensation that without trust, it's really difficult to survive. You sort of, your emotion overcoming.
Yep.
And then I relaxed and I said, well, I'll let myself go. And I knew there was something down there that would catch me, that would protect me. And so I jumped without the rope. And I felt much better. I felt a sense of comfort, knowing that in me, in my inner self, there is something that tells me that my trust meter is fairly good. Unless there is the faith, and now I go from trust to faith, that there is something that will move things towards an interesting direction, even in the worst circumstances. So it was so confusing. Was the sensation of not having trust was overwhelming, and it was very nice to go back to my to my way of reacting to things and letting myself go, knowing that there is something there that will help you out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very interesting sharing. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get comfortable again. And letting your eyes close when you're ready. Taking a few deep letting go breaths. Really letting go, softening at your core. Unclenching internally. You take a few moments to observe your thoughts. Just notice what your mind is saying about trust and not trusting and letting go of the rope. Because it certainly has its opinions. Just observe those thoughts for a few moments. Noticing what your mind is saying. Good. And then breathe into the center of your chest, your heart center. That doorway to your inner world. And let down the protection over this heart so that you can go in. Opening your heart and going in, you'll find there are many feelings that will rise up to the surface or just float around. Notice what this heart is feeling now. And breathe into those various feelings in your heart. And notice how your heart is feeling about trusting. Feel your heart's ability to trust. Feel your heart's inability to trust. Notice how not trusting feels. And notice how trust and trusting feels. And there's a connection between trusting and loving. For loving is a letting go, not a holding on. It's an acceptance, not judgment. And taking another breath, you dive down deeper, deeper within, all the way down to your gut, your belly, that place of knowing, beyond even believing, but knowing, deep within you, the place of the soul's wisdom. Your ultimate trustometer. Your very accurate trust meter. And notice how it feels to be there in this place of knowing within yourself. And once you know, let your heart guide you and your mind take care of taking action rather than the other way around. Spend time in this place within yourself of knowing, trusting, intuiting. Feel the calm and peace that it brings. The relief. The groundedness. Remaining in touch with this inner knowing, your trustometer. You feel your feet on the floor. The chair or sofa beneath you. And when you're ready, letting your eyes come back open once again. Remaining in touch with this place deep within. So again, we invite you, if there's some understanding, realization, feeling, something that's come to you from that meditation, you're invited to share that with all of us. Just unmute yourself or raise your hand and I'll unmute you. Anybody?
Okay.
Who said okay?
Oh, I said, okay, I'll go first then. So, during both meditations, I went through a process where I moved from the surface through layers deep down. And whatever I found on the surface seemed to be stemmed from one main emotion, which was fear, like we discussed before. And while I worked with that fear, it shifted to something more balanced and more at ease when I recognized that I'm inherently safe and supported. So safe and support seem to have a lot to do with dealing with fear in this experience to me. And yeah, once it's acknowledged and recognized, it might be easier to shift from that state to a more neutral state. That's my finding in this session.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for that sharing. Love it.
Let's give one other person a chance, Franklin, before I turn your microphone on. Someone else? Ali, I'll unmute you. There you are.
In the second meditation, I wanted to see what is really trust means and how it comes from. Actually, I found out it comes from rational mind, not from very deep, because trust is based upon, you know, what faith or belief you have. It comes from there, and you have to see the reason and proof. And as you said, you might have trust to someone in a certain level, and another person has more or less trust based upon his rational mind. So it's really, you know, mind is very, you know, important to have trust to the guy or not. How it comes to you and you see the proofs, certain proofs to trust a person 100% or 50%, and maybe it's different, you know, with the other people to the same guy or same thing. So I really focus on how the trust comes and how that it means, you know, like maybe a guy is very trustworthy, but it's not to me or to you, or the other person has more. So that difference comes from the rational mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Someone else? I unmuted you, Franklin.
This last meditation brought me back to a feeling of support and a feeling of connectedness. And from there, I can ask for help whenever it comes. And then it has to do with trust, and with this, it comes back to the feeling, of connectedness, not in the mind, but in the system, in the body. But it was, I felt support also and connectedness.
Yeah.
So thank you again.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. And I when I did the heart segment, I felt so much connection with each of you. That feels like so much love and support too. It's I really want to acknowledge and honor that. It's so special for us to meet like this and to share this.
It really is.
Thank you.
Is it, were you trying to speak?
Yeah, I was going to say at the heart part, that's the meditation we did together, so I already knew it. But interestingly, while I was going into the heart, this time the barrier was different than before. It was so flexible. It was like the, you know, what's the, it was like a sticky case that protects the fetus. And I felt that, interestingly, I was trying to go into my heart, but I felt that I was born into my own heart in order to get in. Like to break that sticky case, that interesting metaphor. I can't explain it, but as if I have, what you call it, the thing that the fetus is in, the
amniotic sac.
Yeah, I felt that I kind of ripped that amniotic sac and born into my own heart. I mean, it was so interesting. I thought it should be the reverse, but I was born into my heart, and then I saw plants with flowers and trees with flowers inside. So it was really, I mean, it really touched me. Thank you.
One thing to base us comment about the heart. I don't know if everybody knows this, but they did some research about the heart and the development of the fetus. And heart, physical heart, is the first part of the body, the organ that's developed first, and everything else becomes out of it. It's been confirmed by HeartMath Institute's research, so it's beautiful that you describe it that way.
Really interesting. Yeah.
Well, thank you, everyone. Do you want to announce next week?
Yeah, we were thinking about next week and the topic, and we would like to explore grieving. There are many levels of grief. It's not just the one level we might right away think about, but especially the last months gave us either a lot of reason to ponder it, or to be in it, or to witness it. And I would like to, or we would like to, build resources for all of us and see our coping strategies, and also come up with some internal resource again. So that's next Friday, right?
Same time, we'll send a notice.
Same time, 11 o'clock our time, Eastern Standard. So the same time, same place.
Yeah.
Most likely. We don't know exactly, but most likely.
We trust.
Yeah, we trust. We trust. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to see you.
Yeah, it's so nice to share with all of you. Yeah.
To all the nations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ciao.
Everybody, we are muting everyone, and
yeah. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for sharing.
Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.